Dr. Daniel here with you. I am a doctor of psychology and licensed clinical social worker from San Diego, California. As you are joining this video, please say hello and type in the box, in the chat box, who you are, maybe your name and where you're joining me from. Would love to get to know the audience that's watching this video. As you know, we do brain talks, and this brain talk is going to be kind of cool. It's going to talk about unmasking emotions, specifically with using Copaiba essential oil, Balance, and Adaptiv. These three oils have so much that they can do for our brain health, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to dive right in. What I would love to see is whether you're watching the recording or live or on YouTube or wherever you're watching this, Instagram, comment below, again, who you are, where you're joining from, and maybe what would be a major question you have about using aromatherapy for your household or for your practice. So what's like one thing that stops you, that has stopped you so far from getting essential oils into your practices? I would love to hear kind of what that dialogue is in your mind. So hello to you guys joining as well. If I could ask someone who's ever watching this to be a scribe, meaning like a commenter, and comment the highlight or the key phrases that I say. This really helps us visually as we learn together, from audio, but also visually seeing the words in there. So if someone's maybe on a computer, please say hello. And I see lots of people joining in on the live video. That's wonderful to see you guys. So I'm going to dive right in. You know me, I like to just get right to the business and get started. So first of all, I'm actually going to read some stuff on basics on essential oils and basics on essential oils in the brain from my book. And if you haven't heard about what my book is, it's called Mental Health and Aromatherapy, and it's a guide to using aromatherapy for PTSD specifically, which is actually the dissertation that I did in my doctorate. And so there's a link in this post in the description, and you can click on that, learn more about the book, and order it from that link. But I'm going to read a little bit from it so that way you can get an idea what's in the book. But first, we're going to start on essential oils. Now, I want you to know this book is definitely a scientific book. You're going to get all the neuroscience that you probably never thought you would ever read. So you'll love it if you're into that, which I am. And I know a lot of you guys are too. Okay, so first off, essential oils. We're just going to go into some basics on essential oils. And I'm going to read from my book. I wrote, essential oils are lipophilic, volatile, aromatic metabolites in plants consisting of natural chemical constituents from flowers, seeds, bark, stems, roots, and fruits. Okay, so there's around 3,000 essential oils that have been discovered, and we use about 300 commercially right now. Pretty cool. So what that all means is basically there's these little molecules on plants. That's all that means. So that is what the book talks about. Their chemistry consists of blocks of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen molecules, which that's important to understand because what is the human body made up of? The same thing. And what's interesting is their unique complex chemical structure allows them to act directly and indirectly within our cells and within our brain. And even some of the essential oils or their compounds closely resemble that of human atoms, which allow them to aid in certain biological functions. So that's pretty fascinating to see that these chemical structures inside a plant essential oils mimic certain structures in our body, which allow them to help our body in those types of things. Like hormones is one of the major ones. Kind of cool. So their essential oils are normally aromatically inhaled. So aromatherapy is aromatically inhaled, and it directly influences the brain through olfactory limbic permeation. So just directly in this olfactory nerve goes right to the brain. Their electronic signaling influences neurotransmitter alteration, as well as modulation, excitability, and neuron stimulation. I was trying to read, and apoptosis, neurogenesis, and neuroplasticity. So you can see they're super amazing for the brain, and why I'm so passionate that people need to have essential oils in their life and diffusing in their houses, inhaling them, putting them on the pulse points of your neck, getting them into the brain. Can you see how amazing? I'm going to reiterate what I just said, and if somebody can be my scribe, I'll help too. So aromatic inhalation permeates directly through the olfactory nerve, And then the electronic signaling influences neurotransmitters to alter, to modulate, to stimulate, and causes apoptosis, neurogenesis, and neuroplasticity. Pretty amazing. Also, another one is modulate neuroinflammation, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute too, but I wanted to add that in there. So you can see why this would be super healthy for the brain, amazing for mental health therapy. Whether you're doing coaching or teletherapy, or maybe with your kiddos you're working with, I do not see how therapy can be done without these. They are a massive complement to what you're doing. And if you're coaching, it's the way you can help people make shifts, because the little aromatic compounds help make the shifts in the brain. You emotionally still have to make decisions, which is what, cognitively the therapy is for. But if you can have something, just natural plant, help make the brain, help the brain process emotions, this is what Unmasking Emotions is. We help them process rather than staying stuck in a certain part of our brain or in our memories. And that's why I love the essential oils. So if you can tell that I'm passionate and I believe in it, it's because I've written, a couple 100-page dissertation on the whole thing. And it's definitely, I can't see how people can do therapy without it. So that's my plug-in for that. Okay. So I'm going to keep reading from my book here. Certain aromatic compounds have the ability to surpass the blood-brain barrier due to their high lipophilic, which means fat content, and their unique chemical structure. So they can permeate and influence the blood-brain barrier, permeate and influence higher cortex and processing and conscious thought. So, okay, so that just kind of puts my thought back into why, if you are wanting to unmask emotions, if you're wanting to process emotions, why essential oils are going to be so huge. And I'll just kind of repeat that. Certain ones surpass the blood-brain barrier, and they permeate the brain's higher cortex, influencing conscious thought. So have you guys ever felt, comment below if you have felt maybe some emojis. Type in the emojis of emotions that you have felt within the last 2 weeks. As many as you want. I don't even care. How many emotions have you felt? Just put the emoji in and let's see. And if you have ever felt a little stuck in an emotion, which I know I have, sometimes I'll get either down or I'm hung up on something. The essential oil can come in and help process that conscious thought, modulate those neurotransmitters, so then you can think clearly and make a better decision. And that's what I love about them. So when we're in a stress state, we don't make the greatest decisions. Who has noticed that? Who has ever been reactionary when someone kind of offended you, and instead of taking the time to think about it and process, right? If we think about it and process, then we can respond accordingly. But if we react, we're just in stress. And I've had to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, because I've been a jerk. And I don't like that. And that's not who I am. And I know that's not who you are. So can you see how I'm talking about the essential oils, how they can help with processing all of those emotions that's going on with you? And then consciously you get to choose, okay, I want to respond appropriately and kindly to this person, instead of reacting aggressively or assertively or angrily. Does that make sense? You still have to choose, but it does help you make the process and the connection. And I love that. It's so empowering. Okay, so moving on. I'm doing just an overview of essential oils and reading from the book, so you can get an idea of what is in the book as well as kind of just do an overview, and we're going to go into the oils. So let's talk about essential oils they can be applied in 3 different ways. We know topically, aromatically, and internally. And internally is really specific to being pure and unadulterated. So they can relieve, from these applications, they can relieve different adverse physical and psychological health concerns. The purity and chemical makeup, therefore, is imperative. Okay, so you need to have the richest source of the plants and carrying those medicinal compounds in order to have these effects. Also, it needs to be unadulterated. Many essential oils are adulterated with either non-therapeutic parts of the plant, cheaper oils, alcohols, vegetable oils, synthetic compounds. And that's why would you put that on your skin or inhale it in your nose? It's like, if you ever walk down the store aisle of all the cleaners, it bothers my lungs. I can't even be around perfume anymore and people have it on. It actually bothers my lungs because it's synthetic. Essential oils are the best perfume because they're nature. So you can have various testing methods done so that you can make sure it's the rich. Usually the company is going to have a testing method. If they don't, then I would be suspicious. So let's see, just to make sure they're free of adulteration and have those therapeutic parts of the plant. So that's what I wanted to share about essential oils from the book. And now I'm going to share a little bit more. And we're going to dive into Copaiba. How many of you guys watching this video, live or recorded, have used the essential oil Copaiba and know what it is? So Copaiba essential oil comes from a tree in the Amazon of Brazil. Kind of cool. So it is amazing. It has over 50% of beta-caryophyllene. So beta-caryophyllene is a chemical compound inside of Copaiba. And I'm going to talk heavily about beta-caryophyllene. And I use Copaiba to really get my dose of beta-caryophyllene. So beta-caryophyllene, and this is from my book as well, interacts directly with the endocannabinoid system. Isn't that cool? So, and it aids in, there's two, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but there's two cannabinoid receptors. One interacts with T, which is the psychoactive. This is not that one. This is the second one, cannabinoid receptor 2, and it interacts in this receptor 2. It aids in dopaminergic activity at the therapeutic target, which is a therapeutic target for learning and memory, mood, anxious feelings, stress, and neuroinflammation, helping the brain. It causes a neuronal homeostasis. Isn't that cool? So how many of you typed in emotions during this video that pretty much could cover that, gamut of emotions that we want to learning, memory, mood, anxious feelings, stress, and you want neuronal homeostasis. So homeostasis means like it helps bring everything back into harmony. So I highly recommend the Copaiba for unmasking those emotions and just helping yourself process them in an effective and a kind way. And what I mean by that is being kind to yourself and others. I want to, kind of bring in a phrase I like to use, and it's called honest conscience. How can you have an honest conscience with yourself? And that is the key to unmasking emotions, right? So you're going to use the essential oils to help you come to this honest conscience, take ownership, take honest responsibility, and you will be free. That's what will be unmasked when you can take honest conscious awareness for what you're feeling. Okay, so going back onto Copaiba, let's see here. It's neuroprotective. Studies show that it passes the blood-brain barrier. So this is one of those that has been shown to permeate the blood-brain barrier. In a study, actually, they showed that it helped alleviate low mood, anxious feelings, and compulsions. Super cool. So I recommend I use Copaiba. Either do a drop, because this is one I can do internally, under the tongue, or you can go like this and wear it as like cologne or perfume on your neck pulse points. And then the back of the neck as well, which is your occipital. So if you're on with me now, feel on your skull and then your spine. Do you see these 2 points? In between them is a soft spot. That's the occipital. So that's where you would put this. So there's Copaiba. I'm going to go in now into another essential oil. We're going to talk about Adaptiv. So this is a blend. Now, I love the blends because they blend a whole bunch of chemistry and can do myriad of things in the brain. So this is a blend of orange, lavender, Copaiba, spearmint, magnolia, which I love the smell of, rosemary, which we know is really good for memory already, neroli, and then sweet gum resin. So I'm going to just highlight a couple of the oils in here, and then I'll talk about, there was actually a study done, a double-blind placebo study done on Adaptiv, which is really cool to have a blend that has a study. So first of all, lavender that's in there, right? This is the most widely studied essential oil. And for those of you on, and thank you for typing in, for those of you that are typing, my scribes, what do you use lavender for? If you're watching this video right now, type in what do you think you would use lavender for if you haven't tried it yet? What's lavender for? I would love to hear what you use it for. So again, it's the most widely studied, and it helps calm the central nervous system. That's what studies are showing. So what does that mean? It helps with reducing fear, agitated behavior, anxiousness, stress, and it also helps with calming the autonomic nervous system, which is what? Your heart rate, your blood pressure, right? So really cool. It actually causes physical and calming effect. So I'm seeing what you guys being in. There's uses. See, lavender is incredible. And it's with Adaptiv. Adaptiv has a research study. They spent as young as 12 years old, actually, and they diffused the Adaptiv, and they measured its effects on stress and anxiousness in this double-blind trial. With set markers, they were able to show a physiological, psychological reduction in stress and anxiousness. Isn't that cool? So I highly recommend this oil because of all of the contents in it. I could talk days and days about citrus oils, benefits of the brain. I've done lots of videos on those. So this has citruses and lavender. So next, I would love to see you type in the box who has used Adaptiv and what have you used it for. It's really helpful for people to see what other people, what's worked for other people. I think that speaks volumes more than I can speak about this. So type in if you've used Adaptiv, what you've used it for. All right, so let's go on to the last essential oil for our Unmasking Emotions talk today. And we'll work about Balance essential oil. And I'm sure if you have some hearts or something like that, tell me or likes, tell me if you've used essential oil. It's a go-to for me. I love this essential oil. It's a blend. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a blend of spruce, which is a tree, hoe wood, frankincense, blue tansy, blue chamomile, osmanthus, the mixed tree and flower oil. So what do we know about tree oils? What do tree oils, or what do flower tree? They're very grounded, stable. So if you can think of that, that's what they do in the brain. They help you be rooted, stable, and grounded. So when would you want to use an essential oil balance? When you're feeling a little rocker, right? And you want to unmask those emotions and manage them. So that would be if you're feeling stressed out, maybe a kid with special needs. I've actually used this really effectively with those special needs when they're really overstimulated. I use this for stress. I put this on pretty much every evening when I'm just, okay, I've had a busy day, I'm on camera, all these types of things. And I'm just like, okay, I need to just be grounded. This is your oil. So as I'm going to speak about balance now, I would love for you to type in how you have used Balance essential oil. If those of you have used it, I think, again, it'll help so many other people hearing how you've used Balance. What's it for? Like how you've used it and what do you use Balance for? How it's helped you. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a couple trials, studies that have been done with some ingredients inside Balance, which is cool. So we know how to ground emotions and ease anxious feelings. Hoe wood is got a primary compound in hoe wood essential oil is linalool. So linalool is a compound that's also in lavender that has the calming effect, right? But so now you've got a wood oil with linalool. Really cool to cause this grounding. And so a research study showed that it calmed the central nervous system. Kind of cool. And we talked about that just a second ago, that central nervous system, which is your primary physiological reduction in stress hormones and anxious neuroactivity, let's just call it. So spruce oil, they did a human clinical trial. The research found that it promoted a calming relaxation. So really cool. And I'm sure as those of you are typing in how you use Balance, you probably have used it for calming and relaxation. Right? Then lastly, I'm just going to talk about osmanthus. It's a flower. Well, it's a shrub. It's a native shrub in Asia. I think that's cool. I love hearing where the plants are from. And the clinical research shows it reduces feeling stress when you inhale it. So how would you use Balance? So let's talk about Balance essential oil. You do a drop in your hand, right? Got a cat hair on there. And then once you get that drop, you can put it on the bottom of your feet. I like back of my neck, again, the occipital point. Inhale it. This is a great way right to my brain. And then pulse points on the front of the neck. Again, great for cologne and perfume. And then I like to rub it on the wrist points as well, those wrist pulse points, because then I can smell it as I need. So anyway, those are the three main essential oils that I want to talk to you about with Unmasking Emotions. we're going through a lot of different emotions right now. As your emojis in this video have shown me, you're all experiencing different emotions. We do in general as humans, right? But how do we process them so they don't stay stuck, so we don't stay in anger or stress or anxiousness or compulsion, so we don't stay in that state? The, like we said in the beginning, I'm just going to wrap this up here, helps process through the chemistry, through the brain, helps with processing the emotions, the chemistry that needs to happen so we can sit back and think, have conscious honesty, right, with ourselves and with the universe and with others, and then you can make a decision on how to act, versus so many stress chemicals, anxious chemicals going around. You're just like, I'm just trying. Oh, I'm just going to respond this way. Makes sense, the difference? I know I'm kind of being animated, but that is how essential oils help. They calm that, they cause that homeostasis, they calm that stress response so you can think clearly and respond honestly with kindness and not keep those emotions masked in your brain and in your feelings. That's the key. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being on. Just a reminder, the description has a link to the book that I read from today that I wrote. I'm very excited for you guys to get that, and I will see you on our next Brain Talk. Thanks again for joining. Bye-bye.